Good day, folks. Going over with you today the sales disclosure for the 1978 Housing Sale Disclosure of Information and Acknowledgement Lead-Based Paint and/or Lead-Based Paint Hazard. In short, the lead-based paint disclosure, as we all know it. This form is to indicate or signify or notify the buyers if there are any presence of lead-based paint in the house. So as long as the house was built prior to 1978. I believe it's July 1978 to be exact. And also the disclosure gives the buyer an opportunity to do a lead-based paint inspection. I invite everyone to take a moment and read the form over, but I'll go over with you briefly on how we fill this out. So when taking a listing, obviously if the house was built prior to 1978, then you would have to fill one of these out. You put the seller's name right here. Let's put that in. Let's put David Jones. Property address 123 Dream Avenue in Star City, New York 11111. Totally made up that address. Excuse the typing, not typing fastest here, but so after you fill out the information, then the seller is now you have to explain to the seller that they have to be truthful and honest. Presence of lead-based paint and/or lead-based paint hazards. Does your seller, your client, have any knowledge of any lead-based paint hazards in the house? Yes or no? Yes, they will check here. If no, seller has no knowledge, they will check here. No, they do not have any knowledge. They will also have to initial each line. So here they will initial DJ. Next would be B, records of reports available to the seller. Seller has provided the purchaser with all available records and reports pertaining to lead-based paint and/or lead-based paint hazards in the house. So if the seller had done a report at one time, if they were having some repairs done and it was made known to them and was issued any sort of record or report, it's on them to be truthful and provide that if that is available, if that's something that they do have. So they will check right here. If they have no record or anything pertaining to lead-based paint or lead-based paint hazards in the housing, they will check this box right here. They will also have to initial section B, DJ. Okay. Next would be the buyer. It's now on the buyer. Purchaser has received could be, let's say, Ellen Taylor, ET. Purchaser has received a copy of information listed above. Okay, purchaser has received pamphlet. Pamphlet protect your family from lead-based paint. Lead in your home, not lead-based paint, but lead in your home. That's the booklet, and that booklet has to be presented at the time that you're presenting this disclosure. So if you're representing a buyer, or if you're dealing with the buyer as a customer, you will still have to present this booklet to the buyer at the point of presenting this form. Not only that, but this form has to be presented prior to submitting the offer or the sales agreement. So the buyer will have an opportunity to initial here. They will also initial here, Ellen Taylor, and then they will initial here one more time, Ellen Taylor. This is E. Purchaser has checked 1. Received a 10-day opportunity or mutual agreed upon period to conduct a risk assessment of inspection for the presence of lead-based paint and or lead-based paint hazards. Or do they choose to waive that right? They could check either or. Do they want to do one, or they do not want to do one? The choice is purely up to them, and whichever they choose, they have that right. Minimum of 10-day or agreed upon time. If it's shorter, longer, whatever is agreed upon. Then if you're on the buyer side, or you're representing the buyer, or the buyer is your customer, you then would have to initial here, agent has informed seller of obligation under 42 USC 4852D and is aware of his or her responsibility to ensure compliance. This is for the agent representing the seller. The agent that representing the seller would now initial here. That means you, the listing agent, and then sign. The seller would get an opportunity to sign right here, which is David Jones. And the purchaser would get an opportunity to sign here, Ellen Taylor, and then agent, listing agent, and buyer's agent will each sign the form and present, have it on record. That concludes how we go about the lead-based paint disclosure.